Oh my goodness, it is so wonderful to be with all of you. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I'm the only one who's not fortunate enough to be there with you in Texas right now, and I wish I was, because I would kiss the ground of the promised land. I'm actually joining you from where I live, just outside of Washington, D.C., but watching and listening to all the horns and seeing the caravan cam as people are driving by and showing their support of life is so incredibly encouraging. And it's very different from the feel where I am, because just 3 days ago in Washington, D.C., we saw a change in administration. And we saw on January 20th, the day when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were inaugurated and installed in office. And I know that some of us might right now be thinking, oh my goodness, where do we go from here? What's next? Where's the hope? We see a pro-abortion majority in the U.S. Senate, a pro-abortion majority in the U.S. House. We have some hope certainly with Amy Coney Barrett on the U.S. Supreme Court, but we're wondering what's going to happen next. What's going to be our progress? Where do we go forward from here? And what is the role of Texas in the midst of this? Texas, the most pro-life state in the nation. You know, it is a very real challenge. And yesterday, on the actual anniversary of the Roe versus Wade decision that imposed abortion on all 50 American states, on that tragic day that we are memorializing here today at the Texas Rally for Life, the Biden administration released a horrific statement. A statement saying that in the past 4 years, the so-called right to choose has been under relentless and extreme attack. That means that you and me, the pro-life movement, we have been making progress. We have been seeing victory after victory. And of course, Texas has been leading the way. That's me adding to the statement, obviously. Going back to the statement, though, the administration said that they are deeply committed to making sure everyone has access to abortion. And they then went on to outline an agenda that includes codifying Roe versus Wade, appointing judges that advance their radical abortion agenda, expanding abortion, promoting it worldwide through international aid programs, and working to strike down good pro-life state laws which have been proliferating around the nation. We are facing some real challenges. And I think that's why Dr. Poyman, the Texas Alliance for Life team, the host committee putting on this event, kept saying the phrase, now more than ever, what we are doing is needed. Now more than ever, you are needed. As you drive around the perimeter of the Capitol and throughout Austin in the Life Caravan, as you're watching this live stream, now more than ever, this work is vital. We are called to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, to give a voice to the voiceless. And we have to remember that we have been through adversity before. More than 4.5 decades of legalized abortion. We've been through ups and downs, and we have continued to make progress through all of it. I was just last night reflecting on right before Obama was inaugurated. And I was walking through Washington, D.C. with another pro-life leader, and we were talking about how this was going to be a very challenging season. But we started reflecting on the realization that if everything was lined up the way we would want, a pro-life president, a pro-life Senate, a pro-life House, a pro-life state legislature, pro-life Supreme Court, if everything was lined up that way, and that was when abortion ended, the world would say it's because of the politicians, it's because of government, it's because of all the people. But the reality is, we as a movement have made some of our greatest progress in the most impossible odds, because with man ending abortion, this is impossible, but we know that with God, all things are possible. And that's why right now is an unprecedented opportunity. Right now is a chance for us to make victories and to show the world that it's not just because of who sits in the White House, who sits in the halls of Congress. It's because of the people who are willing to get on their knees and trust God and do His will. We've been through tough times before. And right now, there are unprecedented opportunities with the new makeup of the U.S. Supreme Court. There are cases that have been and are being filed that will directly challenge Roe versus Wade, that will begin to erode this case and perhaps could even overturn it. But that is not the end of abortion. That merely throws it back to the states. And that's why what you're doing today is more important than ever. Because you have to organize locally in your community, as we're going to hear from these remote reports across the state. We're going to also hear from what's happening from the stage of how the state is coming together. That is more important, because when, not if, Roe is overturned, you in Texas are going to lead the way in showing America how to be a pro-life state. And right now the legislature is in session. You have a real opportunity to pass a complete ban on abortion. There are now opportunities to show the legislature that Texas supports complete protection for unborn children, yes, starting at fertilization. So instead of what the world thought we would do with the Texas Rally for Life and just, well, we'll just fold, we'll cave, we won't do it, I am so proud of the host committee and Dr. Poyman for saying, you know what, we're going to innovate, we're going to pivot, we're going to do this life caravan to show Austin and Texas and the nation that Texas is pro-life, but also to do this live stream so we could unite together. And my last thought for you before I throw it back to Abby: whenever I travel internationally, and in my work when I led 40 Days for Life through its first decade, even now as I advise and work with pro-life organizations across America and around the world, everywhere I go, people talk about the progress being made by the pro-life movement, yes, in the United States, but they specifically point back to Texas. Because what happens in Texas shapes the direction of America, and what happens in America shapes the direction of the world. So you have to realize you have a mantle of responsibility. Roe v. Wade began in Texas and regrettably opened this Pandora's box of abortion for the nation. But what began in Texas will end in Texas. And you are the people called for such a time as this. Yes, Texas is pro-life. Yes, life begins at conception. And yes, Texas has abundant, compassionate alternatives to abortion and helps those women far beyond birth. You are the people that God has called to end in Texas what began in Texas. And I'm so proud and honored to be joining you for this event today to celebrate the progress you are making and to look forward to what victories are ahead.